Welcome to the We Geek Together podcast. My name is Andy, the tavern owner, and this is
Jon Jenson, author of the Dead Wars.
Today we are going to be talking about the Dead Wars. Johnny is the main writer on the Dead Wars, so we're going to be getting behind the scenes. But before we do that, let's get into first call for drinks. First round of drinks. There we go. What are you drinking?
I'm having some raspberry crap. This is fantastic, though.
Raspberry. This is from Night Raven Beverage. You can only get it in our tavern for the time being. Locally brewed mead, non-alcoholic. I'm drinking mate.
This stuff is incredible. I love fruity drinks. This is really, really good.
It's very sweet.
I've had all the other flavors, I think, and this one's my favorite.
It's good. Well, tell me a bit about what's new with you. What are you doing? Besides busy writing, what else are you doing?
Oh, well, yeah, there's a lot of busy writing. There's actually a lot of that. Well, I have a 5-month-old son. Whew. Yes, that's a lot of work.
Good luck. How are you sleeping?
Actually, not so bad. It's staying awake during the day that's the problem.
Yeah.
He's a good kid. He's a lot of fun. He sleeps through the night, but he's a lot of work when he's awake. And it's so rewarding. It's so incredibly rewarding. I'm very proud. Don't get me wrong.
First.
It's my first, my first son, or first child at all. And we've done a lot. We've done a lot of really insane stuff that I'm really, really proud of. And I am still the most proud of Roy, right? That is still the most.
Good.
Not to downplay anything else that we're about to talk about, because it's a lot of work.
Sounds like you are a good, healthy parent.
Yeah. I like to think so.
Good.
I like to think so.
New for me, oh boy, this room, if viewers are watching, we've been working hard on this room. It's looking pretty good. So that's what's new in the tavern. And we're getting ready for a big Yu-Gi-Oh! Battle Royale, if you're into Yu-Gi-Oh!
I'm not. That sounds like...
All right, so let's talk about the Dead Wars. You are the head writer, the only writer
Yes.
for Friday.
Mm-hmm.
A huge undertaking. And so that's what I wanted to talk about because I'm writing Saturday. So I feel like we both have really cool ideas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very much so.
And I want to talk about it because I've seen what you've written, but like we haven't talked about it. So
yeah, it's been a minute. I think that it's kind of nice this time around because last time no one ever done something quite like this before. I mean, there have been epics, and I only found out about large multi-table kind of conference games after the Dead Wars had happened.
Yep.
And then when I went and looked at those, I don't mean to throw too much shade, but I was like, that's kind of weak. That's not quite what we did.
all right, let's talk about how we met.
Right.
Because that's the genesis of the Dead Wars.
So this prop is a Chekhov's binder. So we saw your TikTok, right? Opening up this store, right?
Yep.
Which we were so excited about. We'd love to see local businesses or small businesses opening up, especially about things we're so passionate about. And my wife was like, we have to go in. We got to check it out. I was like, sure, whatever. We show up and you are pitching to every single person who talks to you that keep your weekends open in April because we're going to break a world record in Dungeons and Dragons. And my first thought was, all right, yeah, man. What you got? You said like we're gonna have like 500 people playing D&D together, and I was like, how are you gonna do this?
Impossible.
Yeah, no, it was impossible. And you pitched this idea. You said it's gonna be like Helm's Deep, so there's gonna be some players playing at this area and some people playing at that area, and then everyone's actions kind of affect one another. I went home. I told my brothers we're all kind of engineer-minded individuals, and I'm sorry to say this. We made fun of it a little bit. We were like, okay, there's no way that would work, and
it's a dumb idea.
Yeah, but the problem is our jokes became so specific that eventually they became like, oh, you would have to do this, but if you did that, well, then you'd have to do this, and then we slowly talked our way into. I slowly talked my way into realizing that it was possible, and I wrote it out on a big whiteboard on the middle of this phone call. And then my youngest brother, who's a game designer, he got on the call, and I said, "Look, is this this is possible, right?" And he said, "It would never work." And I was like, "Come on, like we're not talking about practical. We're just saying, in theory, it's possible.
Ideally,
it's possible." And he said, "Prove it." Prove it. Yeah, prove it that you could do it. He's like, I don't believe you. I don't think that it would work. I think that you would need someone perfect in charge, and I think that you don't have the resources. And I was like, Andy's got resources. I'm the right guy for the job.
Challenge
Yeah.
accepted.
Yeah, kind of. And so I stayed up. I think I stayed up for like 2 nights straight, writing this binder. And I don't know why I chose such a thick binder. There's only like 7 pages in here, but I stayed up all night writing this proposal, and I talks about vision and logistics, and also how the systems would work and how
Look at this.
everything would
Look
work
at this.
together.
There's stock photos in the binder.
Well, I wanted it to happen at FanX. I was like, at FanX, they have the resources. We can make it work. And then it turns out Andy had all the resources, so we didn't need to worry about that. Yeah, I had like graphs, and I talked about how long each section would take, and so how logistically it would all work out. It was, and so I bring this in, and Andy's brother is at the bar.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What do you want, man?" And I was like, "Please, just give this to Andy. Just let him, please. I'll do it for free, man. Please let me do this." And you guys put me on.
Yeah, well, and unbeknownst to you, I had already been scheming this for a long time. I had been thinking about this. This has just been slowly cooking in my brain. And so Everett brings me this binder, and I'm like, "Oh, somebody's figured this out." Yeah, sure. You know, it's taken me a long time to figure this out. And then I start flipping through the binder, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this guy has figured out everything I have figured out." Like, it's like you read my mind and put it in that binder. Had the systems and kind of the pacing and all that stuff. I'm like, he sounds just as crazy as me. I need to talk to him. And so, yeah, I called you up, and I'm like, "Are you for real?" Like, wait, you want to do this for free? You understand? Like, this could be an epic fail. Only like 20 people could show up, and it could be an absolute train wreck.
The hardest part of D&D is the scheduling, right? The very hardest part. And I originally said, I was like, "Look, you cannot do this with 500 people." The proposal says right there on the front cover, 200 player D&D. I did not think that it was possible to get much higher than that. And you were like, "No.
We're doing it."
You said, "We're not only just going to go for 500. I think we can hit 1,000." And I was like, "You're insane." I was like, "But also not my problem. I just want to write the thing." And so we got to it. We met every single week.
Yep.
We gave feedback constantly, and it really came together, actually.
It was amazing because you had taken off such a burden from my mind, because writing the adventure was something that I was like, I got to do this, but also I got to do everything else. And so you were like, "I think I can write it." And I said, "Amazing. I will. You are the head writer now. I'm sorry. You asked for it."
Yeah,
And I stepped into the role of the producer. And when you think about movies, you have a director, you have a producer, you have a writer. And so you took on the writer role. And that allowed me really to work on producing, advertising, organizing,
finding
sponsors, tables, like all of that. And it wouldn't have been possible without you. Like, straight up, I could not have done it without you.
And as very flattering, thank you. I appreciate it. My ego is boosted. But also, what you did as the producer was miraculous. And I don't mean that like that's not hyperbolic. It really was miraculous. The fact that we did get as many people as we did.
We set a record.
Right. We set a friggin' record. And the fact that we did have the sponsors that we had, right? Everything really, really came together. I'm very happy that my adventure was ran as well as it was, and that everything, the story was fun, the game was fun, but none of it would have been possible. None of it would have even, like, it all would have fallen through if there wasn't enough tables or enough chairs or if they were in the wrong spot, right? And you knew which spot to put them in, right?
Yeah. Like, we're a good team.
Yeah, it really worked out.
Let's get into this year. What's coming up? Because this is the exciting stuff. So as from a writer, you're writing a D&D adventure. Like, for all of you dungeon masters, game masters out there, you're writing a game for your players. What is the difference between writing a game for your players, for your 6 players, versus writing a game for potentially 1,500 players? Like, what changes? What is your mind state? What does that look like?
Right. Well, I mean, first, it's a lot of panic. It's a lot of panic.
A lot of caffeine.
Yes, lots of caffeine. I for the Dead Wars, I stayed up until 2 a.m. I think for like a month straight, getting it right.
Oh, such a grind.
Yeah.
We luckily gave ourselves more time this year.
Yes, we
learned.
did. Much more time. But what you end up having to do is you have to think about immersion, right? Immersion takes precedent,
Mhm.
especially in any type of writing. You want the players to be completely immersed in whatever the scene, whatever's happening is. Um, and so if it's just one table, you can convince a single table of players that they are a fellowship with miraculous powers and they're
Yeah.
on the fast track to godhood or at least kinghood,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And that they are unique and powerful and they make a difference in the world. But when you are doing that exact same thing with 1,000 people, you have to create adventures that are both modular so that they're highly customizable for whatever the DM wants, and that all of those modular kind of choices that they can make are generic enough that you feel that every player can feel like, okay, yeah, this could happen just to us and nobody else. But you do need to kind of you need to for example, I don't actually have any named npcs outside of the major villain, major hero characters.
Yeah.
You can't have that, right? Because if everyone has met, Joshua the gnome,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's going to feel wrong.
How did Joshua get across a battlefield to meet
Exactly.
1,000 people? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I primarily did, what I did in the first one I'm doing in this one is I've chosen a lot of small activities that players can enjoy and feel like, okay, this could have, and if they run into someone else and they say, hey, I found a pie cooling on the windowsill. Someone else can say, oh, I found a pie cooling on the windowsill. And for a moment it's funny, it's a good moment, but
Yeah.
also it's just believable enough that you can kind of overlook that, right?
Yeah.
You can say, yes, I know it's a game, but also like it's generic enough that it could have happened to anyone.
Yeah, so the imagination, or I guess the belief that we're trying to get our players to feel is that you are in a war.
Yeah.
You're fighting alongside all these other people,
Mhm.
and your actions at your table
Mhm.
are unique to you. Like you're fighting your own thing. However, that also impacts the war. And that's
Absolutely.
that's the fantasy. That's the story that we're trying to sell.
Right.
Um, and so that's very different than just a one
Oh,
table of
it's
players.
it's so different. It's so different because it is the difference between in the Fellowship of the Ring, right? They fight the trolls in Moria.
Uh-huh.
There's that scene, and that's kind of a normal game of D&D. But then
Yeah.
you go to Helm's Deep, or even in Minas Tirith,
Uh-huh.
and the heroes are scattered throughout everywhere. You see soldiers defending a gate. You see soldiers charging as cavalry. You see everyone. You feel like everybody has a role.
Yeah.
Everybody is a part of this great big scene.
Yeah.
But it's it convincing the players that their warlock is going to be one of these frontline soldiers. It's a tough sell, and finding a way to make them feel appreciated in that anyway is important.
Well, and players talk too, because like no doubt, like on the Discord and the tables,
Oh my
they
gosh, the
all
Discord.
shared stories from their tables, and so like we had last year, we had the people on the wall. They were like, "This is what was
Yeah, the
going on the wall,"
wall.
and then we had these tables who were like, "Wow, we did something completely different because we were the cavalry."
Right.
And then the players on the wall were like, "Oh wow, that's cool how these parts overlapped,"
Yes.
because the different tables had things that interacted with each other in different ways.
That's right. So if the wall fell, then the armies actually
It affected
yeah,
everything.
yeah, flooded into the entire city. So every other soldier that was in the city, they wouldn't have had to have fought as many enemies or as difficult enemies had the wall held.
Yeah,
Because the wall fell, it changed how everyone else played their game. It was a very, very exciting, very fun adventure to play.
yeah.
I remember I came to Paint Night here at We Geek Together, and a group came in, and they were all wearing their Dead War shirts. So I'm
Yeah. Oh,
sporting
I'm
mine
not
today.
repping, dang it.
It's okay. I'll rip it for the
Thank
both of
you,
us.
thank
Yeah.
you.
But they showed up and they were all wearing their shirts, and they had 3D printed their entire
I
like their
remember
entire team.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were painting their whole team from the Dead Wars, and they spent the whole time like talking about what they did as like a war story to me, right? Like, then we fought this dryad that could like teleport into rotting wood, and I was like, oh yeah, I made that monster. They're
Hmm.
the worst. Yeah. And it was amazing creating that sense of like we were the Fellowship at Minas Tirith, right? We were the Fellowship on the front lines, and everyone else was kind of just soldiers. Everyone had that feeling. Everyone got to have that experience, and I was very, very proud of us for making that happen.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about some juicy spoilers.
Yes, yes,
I
yes,
mean,
yes.
so obviously we're not gonna spoil everything but you are the writer for Friday.
Hmm.
I'm the writer for Saturday.
That's right.
So I want you to share something cool, something that you think players or dungeon masters might think of
Sure.
interesting, and I'll share something from Saturday.
All right. The monsters in the first Dead Wars were very much based around the idea of getting your players to move. I just wanted to have creatures that forced the players to move around and try to just maneuver at
Hmm.
all. And I didn't feel like that I had the time necessary to really explore that idea. And so this time I've made every single one of the monsters based around some kind of movement. Either they're pushing you away, they're pulling you towards them, they're giving you fear, they're charming you to pull you to them. The whole idea is that these monsters are forcing you to move around the battlefield, so they're not just standing in a circle, curb stomping a boss, right? And the one that I wanted to talk about is the envy augment.
Envy.
Yes,
Okay.
envy is really cool. Envy was based on the ideas of envy. They have some fear abilities,
Mm.
uh, but most importantly, the favorite ability that they have allows them to uh, mark a player and then swap positions with them.
Oh
And
man,
so
that could be so bad.
it's
Like your
kinda
backline casters casting spells,
yeah.
and then suddenly he swaps and he's in the middle of the bad guys,
It happened during the playtest.
and
It
then
happened
and
it
then
happened
envy is in your backlines.
Yeah, yeah, and envy's
Oh, that's
nasty. And
gross.
I'm gonna send you guys the art so that you guys can overlay it here.
Yeah,
Um,
it'll be showing
yes,
right
yes, the
here.
art is
Here's
by
envy.
Marin Jensen. She's my sister. She's an excellent artist, and she's doing the art for the augments.
So cool.
And I think this one, I love envy and how it just ruins players' plans. It's fantastic stuff. How about yourself? Tell me.
Okay,
Give me a
I'll
spoiler.
I'll,
Give me a
I'll tell
little
you.
spoiler.
All right, so the way I write is I like to write the monsters first,
Mm,
and then I like to write the encounters around them, and then I like to write the story pieces that connect it all.
right.
Miyazaki has a very similar writing style. He said, I would come up with a scene before I came up with a story. And if you've ever watched a lot of Miyazaki films, you're like, how does this scene connect with any of the other scenes? But it's a really cool scene.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. But like when you try to plot out the story, you're like, well, this doesn't really make any sense. But that's why. And so I've been thinking about because I'm working in the divine realm
That's
with
right.
holy beings, and I really wanted them to feel like a new enemy type. Like players haven't really encountered holy. There's not many adventures where you fight holy creatures, divine
No,
creatures.
if you're fighting divine creatures, something has gone horribly wrong.
Something's
Yeah.
messed up, and so I'm really leaning into these are holy beings. So one of them that I'm really excited about is called Temperance, and I've kind of named the angels after
Sure, sure.
different virtues. So one of them is Temperance, and the idea is he will kneel and he will pray for a few rounds of battle, and he just soaks up damage.
Sure, sure.
And then when he is done praying, you're in trouble. Like whatever damage you have done to Temperance
Ooh.
will then boost his abilities. So the closer he is to dying, the much more nastier he's going to get.
That is nasty. Ooh.
So that's why he's called
Okay,
Temperance.
that is so much. Okay, I was really worried that I just said I don't like a damage sponge character. Then you you have a damage. Okay, but that's so cool though because then the players are constantly trying to that's that push and pull of like risk and
Mhm,
reward there.
mhm.
Ooh.
Like he's a ticking time bomb. You got to deal with him. But the more damage he's got on him, the more dangerous he's going to be.
Mhm.
So that's Temperance for you. Tell me a bit about your setting, because we're both dealing with really interesting locations and settings.
Yes, yes. So the city of Evenfell. Oh, so
Evenfell.
in this kind of story that we have, the divine realm is the home of some of these very powerful beings,
Mhm.
and one of these powerful beings is the villain of my story, and he's
Yep.
trying to turn this mortal realm into his own realm of darkness, and
Which
so
is why we got to stop him.
right, which is why I got to stop him, and he's chosen this city specifically because the people who originally the queen and the prince originally in the city would not worship him, they would not follow him, and so he has decided to make an example out of them and turn their city into his kind of seat of power, and so this city is on the beach, right? It's on the coast.
Mm.
And so there are some players who will be approaching the city by boat, right? They'll be landing.
That's so
They'll be
cool.
landing on the beaches
Beach
to yeah to
siege.
fight their way up. I took some. I've been watching a little World War II material,
Wow,
so
wow,
that come
wow.
in there. There'll be people instead of actually defending a wall like they did last year. There'll be a lot of players assaulting the wall, trying to get over the wall. Um, and let's see, what else? What else do you want to know? There's a lot of. Well, my city is one that's already an occupied. It's an occupied place. So while players might feel like, hey, we're fighting bad guys, we can blow up buildings. Uh,
There's citizens.
there are citizens here. Yes, there are innocent people around every corner. Every building is somewhere where someone lives, and so it is much more of a tactical strike than it is a tactical nuke, right?
Yeah, yeah. We gotta take this weed out by the roots before it becomes too much of a problem.
Right. Right.
Um,
And so I really liked the idea of liberating the city, right? Of
yeah.
of giving the players like this opportunity to kind of take back what's theirs. And that was also inspired by the occupation of Paris, right? I talked with
Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
I come up with the idea while talking
You've
with
done.
my brother. He was like, "This is the occupation of Paris. You have to go in, but you can't destroy the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
You got to keep that up because that's a symbol of hope. You have to rescue these people while also deciding which ones are friendly, which ones are dangerous." Um,
It's going to create some really interesting dynamics.
Yes, there are rebels that are fighting against the bad guys, but there are also traitors who are fighting against you. There are bad guys who don't want to be bad guys anymore, and so how does that play into your plans
Wow,
of
wow.
liberating the city? There's a lot of little pieces there.
I'm so glad that we kind of took our own, and this was by design. Like I said,
Absolutely,
I said,
absolutely.
you have Friday. Here's some of the main bullet points. Like, here's the bad guy's name.
Yeah,
That's about all I gave you. And I'm like, all right, run free because you did such an amazing job with the original Dead Wars. Like, I didn't want to call her that. I'm like, write that. I'm gonna write Saturday. And
yeah.
so while you have this, uh, oh, you said it so eloquently. How'd you describe it again? Uh,
I don't know, like a liberation of Paris kind of
Liberation.
thing.
Yes, you have
Yeah,
this
yeah.
liberation, this very careful surgical strike.
Sure.
I am doing like a siege, like a siege on heaven. It's not heaven at all. A siege on the divine. And
The,
and
the great value heaven.
so so they have a very different way. I don't know, they just feel very unique. Instead of just like we took the same siege and then we colored this one black and we colored this one white and we have
Yeah.
our two separate games.
Right, we made very different choices,
Yeah.
and I think that a big reason that I chose to write mine the way that I did was because I didn't. It's the full on like full assault wasn't something that I know how to write very well. I don't feel like, and so I'm really grateful that you gave me that kind of freedom.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
very good.
yeah.
So tell me about that. I really do kind of want to know what that. Give me a little
Yeah.
something,
Okay.
a little
So
something.
we're heading into Eos's realm, that divine prince,
Hmm.
and he has all of his angels, and they all bow down to him, and he's got complete control, um, and everything's beautiful. I'm thinking very much of Greek. I'm pulling a lot from
Sure,
Greek.
Mount Olympus kind of
Uh-huh,
stuff.
Greek and
Yeah,
Roman inspired building, setting, that kind of stuff. And Eos and Skotos
right.
are Greek names, so
Hmm.
that was really inspiring to me. But anyway, so yeah, you'll enter into the divine realm with the help of Friday. Friday's
That's right.
game sets up Saturday's game, so fingers crossed, Friday. You guys, now there's a little spoiler there, but Friday sets up Saturday, so Saturday enters the divine realm, and the second they get in, like things are already hit the fan. Stuff is gonna go
Yes.
down, and what the players have to do is they have to set up a base. They have to like set up like
Oh, interesting. Like
a
a
base, like a place to fortify and start their siege. There will be kind of a scout where they have to go and find out because they haven't been in the divine realm. They don't know what's going on. So
sure.
they'll be like testing the fortifications, finding the enemies,
That's super
and
cool.
then they'll have to see how to break in
Right.
into his keep. And so I will say, like, there's gonna be a lot of interesting terrain based on that. One of like Greek baths. for example.
Yeah.
If there will be some places that you can get into these waters and they will heal you.
Right.
So it's a really good thing, but that there's always trades, because the longer you're in his realm, the divine realm, the more power Eos is going to have over you, because you're in his holy realm.
You've talked to me about this before. You kind of teased that
Hmm.
idea, and it's very interesting to me because I'm excited to see what kind of effects players will kind of incur on themselves just by being there, right? Just because it's that risk and reward again. It's, do I
Yeah.
stay, do I take, or do I go, right? It's,
Uh-huh.
do I take the shot, do I give it everything I have, or do we kind of play it a little more, a little safe?
Yeah, so bathing in the waters will absolutely heal you, and that could be clutch if you're like really low on.
Absolutely.
But that's where the angels bathe as well, and
Right.
there are.
Baths are a horrible defensive position.
Yeah,
They-
there
uh,
it's definitely some things can go
yeah,
down.
yeah. I don't think I've ever seen someone in the bath win the fight against someone attacking them in the bath. Right?
You get caught with your pants down, quite literally. So that's a little bit about the siege on the
I
divine.
am excited about that. I'm
Oh,
excited about
I
that.
know too. Maybe what it is Friday, I
Mhm.
sit down at a table and I get to play. I would love to play.
It'd be cool.
I
That'd be
know.
really cool.
We're going to be doing play tests, so maybe our time is to play test, because I doubt we'll actually have time during the thing.
No,
But
we're
it
going
would
to be pretty busy.
we're going to be so busy. But boy, it would be cool if we could play each other's day.
I have me and my friends. I've got my own D&D group. They've joked about like, oh, it'd be really fun if we showed up and we had our own table. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a booth, right? I'm gonna be
Yeah, you're going to be busy.
doing. I'm gonna be real busy. And they're like, it's fine. We'll just set up our table behind your booth, right? We'll just have a live game
So
going.
between selling, you're like, all right, run
Yeah,
back
yeah.
over. That's awesome.
Let's get
Let's
into
talk
that.
about that. Okay,
Let's get into that.
I want to talk about. So we've talked a little bit about spoilers on the enemies. We've talked about spoilers on the realms.
A little bit, yeah.
Let's talk about the tone. Like, how is your game going to feel? Because I have a pretty interesting tone and inspirations behind mine, and I really want to see your tone and your thoughts, your inspirations behind that.
Well, I kind of want to walk back to the original Dead Wars on
Okay.
that, because the original Dead Wars was it was against the
Vecna,
It was Vecna. It was Vecna.
the undead horde.
Yeah, and we were being defended, or we had Eldath on our side, right? So
Uh-huh.
it was a god versus a goddess, and it was life versus extinction. And it was-
Very bleak.
yes, it was extremely bleak. In fact,
Uh-huh.
one of the things we did in that first game was we told the dungeon masters, like, kill your players. Like, we've given them items
It's a war.
to resurrect them, but this is a war, so kill those players. And like that's one of the first things that like they get, like they read, they open up the packet, kill your players. Like, ah! I had some people be
You're
like,
going to die.
yeah, like really let that sink in. And this is a very different story, right? And so because of that, there isn't that overwhelming sense of dread, and there's not. I mean, there is quite a bit of dread,
Yeah.
but it's not an overwhelming, just like, one day we will all die, right? Today we're just postponing it. This session, as it is kind of a sequel to the previous one,
Uh-huh.
I feel like I wanted to make this one. Vengeance is a hard word. I wanted to make it about justice. I wanted to make it about these are people who have seen a goddess sacrifice herself for them, and here they are they've been offended by these terrible, the Skotos and Eos, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted this to be a story where the players were breaking out of that darkness. I wanted them to just show up and be that last line of defense, and to be the ones who are carrying this banner. And so I think that while the last one was very bleak, I feel like mine is a little more victorious. It's
Hopeful.
it's much. I think it's very hopeful, but
It's a liberation. You're helping.
right, and it feels. I think like you are, like you're the ones in control. I really kind of wanted to give the players the feeling like you are in control of the situation. Right, the bad guys have made some really big mistakes, like we've talked about a little
Yeah.
bit. They've made some big
Yeah.
mistakes, and so you have the upper hand, and you need to take this opportunity while you can. And like I've said, I'm very inspired by the the occupation of Paris and D-Day, and that's all there.
Yeah.
But I wanted this to be a story where it's not a worshiping of death and a worshiping of the slaughter. Instead, it is very much like we are in control of this, and if we didn't have to do this, we wouldn't do it. But we have to. This is for humanity. This is for us.
Yeah, well, yeah, the original Dead Wars was like, we have our backs against the wall. This is life's final stand.
Yeah.
And this one, instead, we're taking the fight to the enemies and
Mhm.
we're saying, no, we will not tolerate this. We will not
Yeah.
let you parade yourselves as these false beings. You do not
Yeah.
deserve to be in Eldath's spot.
No.
Because
No.
that's what Eos and Skotos are kind of competing against. They're trying to fill that power void
Mhm.
that Eldath has left. And so they're both trying to claim rights to become a god. And everybody is saying, no, well, we'll not listen to you. You're terrible.
Yeah.
And this needs to stop.
You're occupying my city. You're terrible.
Get out. We do not like you.
But it is, and I really that tone is very different, right? Because
It absolutely is.
it can very easily slip into a John Wick revenge narrative, right? It can-
You killed my dog.
yeah. But it's I didn't want it to become that. I wanted this to be like, yes, like good people have died and you've killed good people to reach this point. But this story is me saying like we are going to be better people. And so it is a story and at least I've really based my session around those ideas. Do you feel like that's similar to how you're doing it?
Yeah, I absolutely kind of feel that way. This is I love the idea of like Star Wars, like where the rebels
Yes.
are like taking it to the Death Star, and
Mhm.
it's like this is it. We gotta destroy the Death Star, and so that was their backs are against the wall, but they're taking the fight to them, and that's
Mhm.
exactly kind of the feeling behind it. It's gonna be really interesting on the side of we're attacking you, we're doing the siege versus the other way around where we were just like trying to survive.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a tone shift.
I mean, even just gameplay shift. I don't want to get too deep into the gameplay stuff because that's
We
we've already
got more episodes.
we got so much to talk about. But the gameplay, even the gameplay is very, very different. I really like kind of some of the ideas that you had with like the scouts and everything. That's not something I'd considered at all. And that's actually like a really fun idea.
Oh man,
I'm
yeah,
excited to read through that and play through that. But
yeah.
it is very different from like having your back against the wall versus like a moving wall against your back, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's very, very different.
yeah. We compared the first one to Helm's Deep,
Mhm.
and this one is going to be much more of like, yeah, the Death Star run, that kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's I'm very much see it like Return to the Jedi. Like we are
Mhm.
going to go in and we are going to be proactively destroying a shield. We are going to be go in and destroy the Death Star. It very much feels that way. And
Yeah.
it's still kind of a desperate shot, right? The rebels,
Like the humans do have to stand against these gods. If they
Right.
don't, they're just going to get worse.
right? Yeah, things will get significantly worse. And
Yeah.
I hope that not only the divine beings, but the character, the monsters that I have created, create a sense of like this is a subjugation. This has been an eons long subjugation that we are fighting against. These are people who know how to break the spirits of humanity, and we are just we're not we are it'll end now, right? No more spirits will be broken.
It's funny because this almost mirrors. Sorry, I just realized this now. It's so nerdy. This almost mirrors us as writers. Because
Oh my
we
gosh.
wrote the Dead Wars,
That's so
the
beautiful.
original one, and it definitely felt like our backs were against the wall. Because it was just like, this might fail. This is probably going to fail.
There's a very good chance.
99% of the time it fails.
Yeah.
And so it was a very desperate maneuver by us.
Yeah, it
And I
was.
was like, personally as a business, I was wagering the entire business on it, kind
Yeah,
of. Like with
a little bit.
the amount of money I had to put into it and Guinness. Like I had to wire Guinness months before.
I know. Yeah.
And so that's a huge chunk of money. And if only
Yeah.
50 people and my grandma showed up, I would have lost that money with zero return.
I had for a really long time I've done a lot of creative projects, but I've always kept them to myself. They were always a me thing. And when I saw this opportunity, I had this sudden realization that this was an opportunity that I could not miss. And if I missed this, then I would never have an opportunity like this again. And that I would never take the steps necessary to do all those things that I really was passionate about.
Uh.
And so I felt very similarly. I was like, I am putting everything that I have. I'm putting my time. I'm putting my all my resources. I called in every favor I had so that we had people for
You
moderators.
flew your family out from across the world.
Yeah, I have I did. Yeah, I did. I had friends, family in Saudi Arabia, and I had family in Kansas, and I had every single friend, all my wife's friends showed up for this.
Yeah.
It was insane.
It was a last stand.
It was. And
Yeah.
in my mind, I was like, if I don't do this, then I will never be able to accomplish the things that I want. I don't know why. I mean, it was definitely the 2 a.m. sleep deprivation. But in a way, it really was this we are going to, it's all on the line. We put it all on the line. And it worked out. It worked out way more than I thought it would.
It was amazing. We defeated Vecna. We defeated
really
this
did.
terrible villain. And now we've taken that victory, that success, and we are now taking our own destinies into our own hand. And we are now taking the fight how we want to take
Right,
the
on
fight.
our terms.
On our terms. Gosh dang it, that's cool. Oh man, that's sorry.
No, creating stuff is awesome. No, I totally feel it.
God, it's us. I did not expect it to be, but I literally just realized that now.
It totally feels that way. You're right. It doesn't feel like look, if this one will not fail. I do not believe this one can fail. Every time.
Boy, the hubris in us.
No, I don't think it can. Look, I mean, we had 1,227 people show up to the last one, right? 1,227 people who had core memories formed, and you can't tell me they didn't. I've talked to a lot of them.
I
yeah,
know.
you've talked to more of them, and ever since then, if I ever even mention this event, not even mentioning that I wrote for it, not even mentioning that I helped put it on, everyone says, "Oh, I wish I'd been there. I wish I found out about it the night before and I wasn't able to go." So many people want to come to this thing. I don't think that we can fail in terms of people showing up. I think people are going to show up, and so instead, this is this is our game now, right? We're not waiting for someone else to give us a success. Success is ours to take. This is our game.
It.
Yeah.
Okay, so one more little hype thing, and I haven't told you about this, and I haven't told anybody about this, but we are going to do something. So the original Dead Wars was a breakthrough in TTRPG history. Nobody had really done anything like this. I mean, nobody had done anything like it. I am working on something on a scale that hasn't been done yet, along with the Dead Wars. You look really scared and really nervous.
I do, Andy.
Oh,
I really
man.
am.
And I'm not announcing it yet, specifically because I'm working hard on it. But I really have something that I'm the excitement I had for the first one. Holy cow, this is a dream. Nobody's done like this. We're paving roads. We're doing something brand new. I feel like we're gonna do that again for this one. I'm starting to shake. But I can't tell anybody yet.
Sorry, I'm rubbing my eyes because I'm man.
You're dang it.
Gosh, freaking dang.
Andrew, not again.
I was, yeah.
Don't worry. I think I've got it figured out. I think I have it figured out. We'll see. We'll see.
Man.
Anyway, so that's where we're going to finish this. So let's get to...
Last call for drinks.
Last call for drinks. Johnny, where the heck can I find you? What are you doing? Tell me about your stuff.
What a great question, Andrew. I am currently writing a webcomic, Shepherd Called Bales. You can find us on shepherdcalledbales.com.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm also I'm launching my own podcast next week. Yes.
I'll be listening.
Thank you. Sibling Scribbles. I'm hosting it with my sister, who is an animation major at BYU, and she's the artist of both the Dead War monster art that we showed earlier and also of the webcomic. And we talk about creative processes. We talk about current projects. Next week, we're going to be doing a story summit. We're going to be building a story like on the podcast so that people can kind of see what that process looks like and outlining and all that. And so Sibling Scribbles, shepherdcalledbales.com. And I mean, you can find us at the next Dead Wars, baby.
Yeah.
Like,
You wrote the original Dead Wars, which
Yes,
you can
sir.
still buy that adventure.
that's true. Yes, I forgot to mention that. You can the Dead Wars by Jon Jenson, that is on Drive Through RPG,
Mhm.
and you will be able to buy this next one too. We are very much looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow, it's exciting, man.
That's going to be amazing. I didn't tell you. A cruise company contacted us and they do TTRPG cruises.
Andy.
And they're like, oh, hey, can we
Why
talk
did you
about a
tell me
partnership?
that?
So, maybe I can pay for a cruise for you in a few years if we partner up with the biggest TTRPG cruise line.
You let me know, man. You let me know, dude.
We're going to be sipping pina coladas.
Yes, sir. Look forward to episode 100. We're doing
I-
it from the Bahamas.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But
Ooh. Oh, my arm. That's fine. I got it.
technically,
All right. So
I think that's a good.